I hereby call to order this 13th meeting of the Public Utility Commission for calendar year 2013 and ask that you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on this morning's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the July 16th meeting. I'd like to recognize Vice Chairman Coleman as editor of the minutes. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have reviewed the minutes of the July 16, 2013 public meeting and move they be approved as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as submitted. It's a pleasure to welcome to the podium this morning to begin our public meeting Ms. Cheryl Walker-Davis. Good morning, Cheryl.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
May it please the Commission, on behalf of your various offices and bureaus, we present for your consideration and disposition the following agenda items. Starting this morning with matters on behalf of the Bureau of Consumer Services, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the single item appearing on page 1 pertaining to Equitable Gas Company's Universal Service and Energy Conservation Plan.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Office of Special Assistance, commencing on page 2, we recommend in omnibus fashion the adoption of all items appearing on pages 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 through and including the settlement agreement between the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement and Jetway Transport, TA Mainline Taxi.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
With regard to the amended complaint and motion for default judgment in the proceeding involving the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement and Rodney P. Andrews, TA Classic Limousines, there is the motion of Commissioner Gardner.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Gardner for purposes of his motion. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like for my motion to be entered into the record as if read in its entirety. The Commission's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement, BI&E, filed a complaint alleging that Classic Limousines failed to pay its assessment for numerous years. BI&E requested that Classic be ordered to pay the outstanding assessment balance and a civil penalty. BI&E subsequently withdrew a portion of the complaint pertaining to 2 of the assessment invoices. Accordingly, the outstanding assessments was reduced by $5,084. But the penalty associated with the complaint remained at $2,630. By withdrawing the portion of the complaint pertaining to the unpaid assessment for 2 years, the assessment was reduced by $5,084. Accordingly, the penalty should be reduced by $762.60%, or 15% of the $5,084 assessment, reduced assessment. Therefore, I move that the Office of Special Assistant prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation appearing at the bottom of page 7 with regard to the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus UGI Penn Natural Gas Company, as well as the 2 items appearing on page 8 through and including the interconnection agreement involving Windstream, Pennsylvania, and Comcast.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, we recommend the adoption of the items on page 9, except the item in the middle pertaining to PPL Electric Utilities Corporation's supplement on its storm damage expense rider, noting that that matter has been postponed until public meeting of September the 12th. The omnibus continues with all items appearing on pages 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 through and including the matter pertaining to RNK Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Law Bureau, it should be noted on page 16 that the recommendation pertaining to the gas meter placement and relocation rulemaking has been postponed until public meeting of September the 12th. We recommend in omnibus fashion that the Commission adopt the items appearing on pages 17 and 18 through and including the application of PennDOT with regard to public crossings at the tracks of Norfolk and Southern Railway Company in Columbia Borough, Lancaster County.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Turning now to matters on behalf of the Office of Administrative Law Judge at the top of page 19 with regard to Margarita Cron versus Philadelphia Gas Works. There is the motion of Commissioner Witmer.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Witmer for purposes of her motion. Commissioner Witmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would like my motion entered into the record as if I had read it in its entirety. Before the Commission today is the initial decision addressing the complaint of Margarita Cron. Ms. Cron is a landlord who complained that she was improperly billed by Philadelphia Gas Works for 2 years of gas service, even though she requested that gas service be discontinued. Administrative Law Judge Cheskis sustained Ms. Cron's complaint. The facts in this case are clearly not in dispute. On May 4th, 2010, Ms. Cron contacted PGW to request that gas service be shut off. However, rather than stopping the flow of gas, PGW took the account out of Ms. Cron's name and continued to provide gas service to the address through an unnamed placeholder account known as User Without Contract. On May 8th, 2012, over 2 years after Ms. Cron asked that gas service be discontinued, PGW billed the complainant for $3,666. As I've previously stated in Larry and Gail Newman versus PGW, when properly utilized, a user without contract mechanism allows a utility to save money by providing avoided trips to a service address to physically disconnect and then reconnect customers, usually their rental situations. When utilizing this mechanism, however, utilities should ensure that user without contract is in fact the proper billing mechanism. Utilities must be diligent in quickly identifying the correct party to bill rather than allowing a sizable balance to accrue in a placeholder account. PGW did not satisfy either of these requirements in this case. By PGW's own admission, Ms. Cron properly made a request to discontinue service. In fact, at the time Ms. Cron called to terminate service, she was instructed by PGW to let the company know when she would like gas flow to be restarted. Despite this fact, PGW then made an independent decision not to stop gas service, but instead to utilize a placeholder account for the service address. Then, after not months, but 2 years of allowing a $3,666 balance to accrue, PGW attempted to bill the person who, based on the company's own admission, had requested that service be discontinued years earlier. PGW acted improperly and wasted both the complainant's as well as this Commission's time and resources in attempting to justify its actions. I'd like to further note that the initial decision as drafted recognized what had been a long-standing practice of the Commission to not impose civil penalties on the municipally owned PGW because of its lack of shareholders and prior financial situation. However, this Commission has recently affirmed in Maria Shapiro versus PGW that in certain situations we will no longer refrain from levying civil penalties against PGW. In this case, ALJ Cheskis found that PGW violated Section 1501 of the Public Utility Code. I therefore recommend imposing a civil penalty of $500 upon PGW. Therefore, I move that the initial decision be modified to reflect the Commission's policy of imposing civil penalties upon PGW in circumstances when circumstances warrant, and to impose a civil penalty of $500. That the Office of Special Assistance prepare an order consistent with this motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Continuing with matters on behalf of the Office of Administrative Law Judge, we recommend the adoption of the remaining items on page 19, as well as both items appearing on page 20 through and including ALJ Cheskis's recommended decision pertaining to PPL Electric Utilities Corporation's Transmission Service Charge Reconciliation Report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the presentation of regular agenda items. Turning now to the carrying agenda, we recommend the adoption on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services of the matter pertaining to the application of Stand Energy Corporation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
We recommend the adoption on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services of the matter pertaining to the application of Sunoco Pipeline LP and their application to abandon service and portions of its intrastate petroleum products pipeline transportation service in Pennsylvania. Noting your statement, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Before the commission this morning is the Sunoco Pipeline Limited Partnership application to abandon service and petition seeking approval to temporarily suspend service on portions of its interstate pipeline in order to facilitate the construction of the Mariner East Pipeline project. In my view, this is a very important project to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. As many of you know, this project will start in Washington County in western Pennsylvania and end in Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania, at the Marcus Hook Refinery in Delaware County. And it'll serve as a bridge between the rich liquids play of the Marcellus Shale gas development and bring and open actually new markets in southeastern Pennsylvania. By the second half of 2014, Mariner East will start transporting propane, and by 2015, it will be fully operational, delivering 70,000 barrels per day of both propane and ethane to Marcus Hook. Proposed enhancements to and revitalization of the Marcus Hook refinery are all part of this project. I should note for the audience here this morning and anybody that is tuning in to our presentation here this morning, about 18 months ago, these refinery complexes were basically going to be shuttered and closed. Union workers, both in Delaware and Philadelphia counties, were going to be without jobs. And here we are 18 months later, seeing the benefits of Marcellus and pipeline projects like this one. And by the way, some of the tubular steel that's going to be used in this project is going to be produced by U.S. Steel, which is another success story associated with this project. But this single project has brought a revitalization to Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania. And I think it's a testimony not only to my colleagues and I, but to Sunoco Logistics, Energy Transfer Partners, and more importantly, I would like to recognize the efforts of Governor Tom Corbett in his efforts to really pull this together. It is, without question, a great success story for Pennsylvania. This is a very small piece of it, but it is an emerging trend that's taking place here today. And I'd like to think that as a kid that was born and raised in Delaware County, as I look out at our chief counsel, who's also from Chester, Pennsylvania, and he knows a little bit about Marcus Hook, that this project is one of many that is going to bring benefits of this prolific Marcellus Shale development to the Pennsylvania marketplace. And let me conclude by saying that the Mariner East Pipeline project and the associated potential for progress in Marcellus Shale resources is basically a game changer. I don't need to stress that to anybody here today. But with projects like Mariner East, I think it does provide that proper pipeline logistic linkage to bring, not only to bring, but to develop new markets. And when I say new markets, in the short run, these ethanes will be moved out of the port of the Delaware River area into Marcus Hook and moved over to Europe. All-in delivery on a pipeline at $4 over to a European market of $12. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I call an economic advantage, and it's taking place here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So I will get off my high horse. This is such a benign issue to some of you today, but to me, it's a personal issue because I see the benefits of this opportunity for Marcus Hook, Delaware County, and the greater Philadelphia region. And I wrote this statement today just to recognize that. I think it is truly a neat aspect of what we do as commissioners, not to pontificate here. But one part of our mission is economic development. This project is part of that. So with that, the statement is entered into the record, and I did read it in its entirety. And I think I need a second for
No.
to move it. I need to move it, the Vice Chairman reminds me. I'm ahead of myself. So
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to associate myself if you would allow.
I will take any onlookers and any on-takers. So absolutely, Commissioner Witmer. We can adopt you to move to Delaware County as well. So any further discussion, any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
And it is recommended that the Commission adopt the final item appearing on page 2 of the carrying agenda pertaining to the Duquesne Light Company Consumer Education Surcharge Reinstatement Rider.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
That concludes the presentation of public meeting agenda items.
And there are no other items, I believe, to come before the Commission.
No other matters.
We are adjourned. We have a short statement in recognition of the Lifeline Awareness Week, and I'd like to turn it over now as the cameras roll for Commissioner Witmer for the presentation of the Lifeline Awareness Week. Commissioner Witmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if we're going to be on television, do we get royalties or anything with us?
I could see you being a great QVC host.
Cool. QVC. We'll see. I'll take that into consideration. Thank you, though, Mr. Chairman. I do want to talk about an important program that is upcoming. This year, the Federal Communications Commission and the National Association of State Utility Consumer Advocates have designated September 9th through September 15th as National Telephone Discount Lifeline Awareness Week. And we are pleased to announce that once again, the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission will be participating in the activities to promote Lifeline awareness. And in fact, we will be hosting a consumer and media event out in the Johnstown area on Tuesday, September 10th. I will be going out to Johnstown and joining representatives from the Office of Consumer Advocate, Community Action Partnership of Cambria County, and Verizon to help spread the awareness of the Lifeline telephone discount program. It's very important in today's increasingly interconnected world of that telecommunication services provide that vital lifeline for emergency services, connections to family and friends, and also job opportunities. No Pennsylvanian should be without telephone service simply because they believe they cannot afford such services. Lifeline provides crucial financial assistance for qualified consumers. We encourage consumers to contact their telecommunications providers to learn more about the programs and whether or not they qualify, because no one should be left out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.